Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go up to all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
All right, guys. Today's date, May the 11th, 2022, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan on How the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before we get started, guys, let you know that we are a family-friendly podcast, as we try to be. Sometimes words do fly, and there may be some things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers. So viewer discretion advised. Aside from that, welcome. So it's Wednesday. So how can we stress this ever so nicely what to expect on Wednesday? Well, it would be remiss to say that the subject of abortion has came up, especially with the leaked Samuel Alito document that was released out there that says that there's a possibility that Roe versus Wade may be overturned. And again, yes, leaks are a very terrible thing, but let's be honest, so is but civil disobedience is sometimes required. And whoever actually did leak that actual document deserves a medal for waking up. I like to think not only women, but those who understand women's plights to actually fight for their rights as well. That being said, protests have happened, and at the same time, the quickest action in Congress in ever recorded history happened as well. Check it out.
The latest on the showdown over abortion rights after the leak of that draft Supreme Court decision that would overturn Roe versus Wade, leading to tensions across the country and on Capitol Hill. This while security around the justices is being stepped up. Our congressional correspondent Rachel Scott is tracking all of this for us. Good morning, Rachel.
Robin, good morning. As the future of Roe versus Wade hangs in limbo, tensions are running high across the country. The barricades and the fencing still up here around the Supreme Court, and now increased level of security around the justices. As the battle over abortion rights rages on, protesters gathering outside the home of Justice Samuel Alito overnight. Alito is a coward! On the heels of protests outside Justice Brett Kavanaugh and Chief Justice John Roberts' homes. Now the U.S. Marshals stepping in to protect the members of the High Court, and the Senate quickly moving to pass legislation that would extend security to family members. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell accusing demonstrators of trying to intimidate the justices.
It is an attempt to replace the rule of law with the rule of mobs.
This, as McConnell also indicates, overturning Roe could just be the beginning, saying it's possible Republicans could pursue a federal ban on abortion if they take control of Congress. The White House sounding the alarm.
We're at serious risk. You noted Mitch McConnell and other Republicans in Congress are talking about a national ban on a woman's right to choose.
In just 24 hours, Democrats will force a vote in the Senate to protect access to abortion. It's all but certain to fail. Senator Lisa Murkowski, the only Republican who said she would consider the legislation, now says she's a no.
Nothing's going to change. The vote's going to be the same.
If Roe versus Wade is overturned, as that leaked draft suggested, 26 states would ban or severely restrict access to abortion. And Democratic-run states like Connecticut and New York are moving to set up state funds to help out-of-state patients, George.
So again, this is the part where I keep saying, cause and effect, if you will. People are protesting. Nothing wrong with protesting. Protesting is your right to protest in a non-violent manner. But if you notice that one or two things happen. So why, the protest happened, they just noted outside Kavanaugh's, outside Supreme Court Justice Chief Roberts, and outside of Samuel Alito. Why, above all else, is that the reason? Well, if you guys remember my last podcast before this one, I did show, each of these Supreme Court justices that are currently there right now, outside of Ketanji Brown Jackson, they were all questioned about Roe versus Wade. Would they overturn it? Did they see it as law of the land and things of that nature? Now, we all remember Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts' answer pretty much danced around it. Kavanaugh danced around it. Amy Coney Barrett danced around it. Samuel Alito was probably the only one that sat there and said, I don't think that is the law of the land. I think it needs to be revisited. And of course, Clarence Thomas, well, just because he's about the biggest raccoon outside of Candace Owens, not surprised that, he's siding with the mob. He's siding with the mob that is the Republican Party about going after women's rights. Now, again, protests are happening. Now, as far as protesting outside of a home, you're a public official. Yes, they can protest outside of your home. Now, I will say this. The simple part is that the Senate moves so quickly to protect the families of the Supreme Court would be the right thing to do because, I'm not saying there aren't any very extreme protesters because this isn't January 6th and none of these are Donald Trump's Republican extremists out there. But still, to be on the safe side, it makes sense to get protection for them. But let's also be honest. This is the fastest law. This is the fastest bill that's ever been pushed through Congress to provide protection for families of those Supreme Court justices. I just thought that was interesting. Of all the things that ever got passed fast enough through Congress, that got through at lightning speed. But also at the same time, let's not forget that this will become an election thing. Now, you just heard Moscow Turtle Mitch McConnell possibly suggest that, yes, the Republicans, if they do happen to win the House or win the Senate or win both come this November, do not think for 1 second that if Roe versus Wade is struck down, if not that 22 out of the 50 states will go ahead and enact their abortion laws, don't think for 1 second that Republicans won't try to ban outright abortion across the land. Because again, the big thing about this is I keep trying to say this. The simplest way I can put this is an attack on women. I would think any woman, whether you're young, old, or highly seasoned, this is a wake-up call. Like I told a friend of mine, I'm surprised women aren't rioting in the streets right now. Because think about this for a second. You thought dating was hard. Now, imagine if abortion not only became banned, but what if it became a homicide? Because we know it's a homicide. We know it's a homicide in another state. It's being classified as a homicide. So again, this whole thing of dating is going to be an all-time low. Y'all guys know The Handmaid's Tale from Hulu. That is not a non-fictional story. That's got to become real life at this point. But again, this is a hot button issue. And Republicans have already shown their hand. They are all for it. While Democrats scramble, well, we're going to try to codify the rights, but we know it's not going to pass. Well, again, you had Lisa Murkowski right there. Again, Republicans, they do what they do best. They toe the party line. Very few times the Republicans will go outside the exception against the party and vote against their own interests because they don't usually have a short shelf. They have a short shelf life after it happens. Don't believe me? Look at Trump right now. Trump basically got J.D. Vance nominated in Ohio, and all he did was say he was behind the guy. That lets you know how many idiots still believe Trump is still president. Even here in Tennessee, we still have billboard signs that say President Trump is doing a virtual appearance in Nashville. President Trump. Some people still believe, even in 2022, that he is still somehow president. We laugh at the idiots, but there's a big number of those idiots. Again, if I was the Democrats, I would be stressing this very heavily because, again, it's midterm season. Republicans are doing nothing more than saying no, going after women's rights, and they're doing it waving the flag in your face. And folks will still sit there and there are some folks that will defend that, which, again, I have said before, a woman's body is her own damn business. The choices that she makes, along with the consequences, are hers and hers alone. And whatever she decides to do with her body will not affect my sleep at night. Because again, if the same fight was put on men's bodies the way it was done on women's bodies, there would be fires and riots everywhere. But the fact of the matter is how much it's going to take. If I was Democrats, I'd be pushing that. That might be the saving grace the Democrats needed because they don't have a lot of wing columns going into the midterms almost 4 months from now. They don't have a lot in the wing columns. Republicans are pretty much showing their hand. That's how freaking confident they are that they could sit there and say, this is where we stand against women and women will still vote for us. And that is the messed up part. But we'll see. I still say that was the fastest bill ever put through Congress just to get protection, but we can't get half the stuff we need in this country. That being said, Elon Musk, we all know that he is in the current acquisition of Twitter. And like I said before, guys, just like I said last podcast, he's going to try to figure out how to monetize tweets, but he's also going to help a fellow, I won't say a fellow rich person because Trump ain't rich, but he actually wants to right a wrong that he believes and reversing the ban on Donald Trump on Twitter. You can't make this up.
Correct to ban Donald Trump. I think that was a mistake. I think it was a morally bad decision, to be clear, and foolish in the extreme. I would reverse the perma ban. Obviously, I don't own Twitter yet, so this is not like a thing that will definitely happen, because what if I don't own Twitter? But my opinion, and Jack Dorsey, I want to be clear, shares this opinion, is that we should not have perma bans. It alienated a large part of the country and did not ultimately result in Donald Trump not having a voice. He is now going to be on Truth Social, as will a large part of the sort of the right in the United States. And so I think this could end up being, frankly, worse. Now that doesn't mean that somebody gets to say whatever they want to say. If they say something that is illegal or otherwise, just destructive to the world, then there should be perhaps a timeout, a temporary suspension, or that particular tweet should be made invisible or have very limited traction.
Okay. How can I put this ever so nicely? This is the reason why I say sometimes rich people just have a lot of money and a lot of time on their hands. And Elon Musk, which by the way, he bought Tesla, didn't start it, who already came from money since his father owned a mine in South Africa, who is in the process, unfortunately, of buying Twitter for $44 billion, has decided that once the deal is finalized, that he is going to allow former disgraced, somehow got to be President Trump to be allowed back on Twitter, saying that banning him from Twitter is decisive and actually kept a lot of people from being off Twitter. Let's explain something for a second. I don't know, Elon Musk. I feel like, for somebody who has time and has resources greater than I, Twitter did all right without Trump. Matter of fact, Trump didn't believe in actually giving public decrees like previous presidents does. Everything he said or did or was decreed was through Twitter. And the simple fact of the matter is, Twitter was still the same before him. It will be the same after him. But to sit there and say that, no, we shouldn't ban him because he didn't really say anything destructive, and the thing about it is it was morally wrong and stupid. Okay. But farther down the line, you sit there and say, well, we shouldn't just allow, that doesn't allow anybody to say anything destructive or harmful, but they should be put on a timeout. I'm trying to figure out how you didn't see everything Trump said. Everything Trump has said has been destructive, has been alienating, at times threatening. And yet, for the life of me, you want to sit there and say, oh, well, we could put him on a timeout. Trump doesn't need a timeout. When Twitter decided to make the choice to finally ban him indefinitely, it made sense to do that. Because you know why? It's a social platform. You have the right to say whatever you want. This is true, but you're not absolved from the consequences of what you say. I could sit here and say all Republicans are idiots, but if yours truly ever came up in the world and someone found this clip and said, wait, Will, you called all Republicans idiots. Are you still feeling that way? Yes, I still do feel that way. All Republicans are idiots, and those that vote for them are idiots. And I will deal with the consequences and things of that nature that follow. Because, again, I have the right to say it, but I'm not absolved from my actions. Trump feels like he can say things without recourse. He got, a lot of people sit there and say, well, he's able to do everything he wants. I said, yes, because that is the fantasy of many Americans. Many Americans want to be able to say, I wish I did what he did, but we know the consequences follow. We are morally objective to the consequences of our actions. Trump is basically a big ass baby that's been overturned in Doritos tanning oil and somebody forgot about him. But the thing about it is, bringing him back to Twitter is dangerous. In the same sense, like how Marjorie Taylor Greene was on Twitter for a while, how a lot of these extreme conservatives use Twitter in the same way. Even more so that Trump actually failed, doing another social platform, saying, "Well, I don't need Twitter. I'm going to create my own platform to where my followers will follow me," because they've all failed. Even his True Social platform is still a failure. It's still a failure for a so-called successful businessman. But Elon Musk wants to bring him back. Now, I've always said this once, and I'll say it again. Rich people and con people go together like peanut butter and jelly. And don't think for 1 second, once that deal is finalized with Twitter, that immediately Trump will be like, "I'm back. Thank you, Elon Musk. I always liked you. I love Teslas. I have a Tesla. It's a beautiful Tesla. I have the best Tesla ever." Do not think for 1 second that Trump will not go back and say, "Well, now that we've done this, now we need to give back America." And the extreme conservative, crazy, ideological BS train is back on track and is pumping full steam ahead. Because Elon Musk believes that Donald Trump literally was handed a bad call when obviously and also while ignoring the obvious evidence that there is a reason Twitter should ban him and should keep him banned. But Elon Musk has proven that, Elon Musk has proven that you can't ignore the United Nations when they give you a plan on solving world hunger, but you can buy Twitter for $44 billion and still pay zero in taxes. Rich people, gotta love them. Moving right along, guys, I did want to clarify this as well because we did have an issue here in Tennessee where this is why I sit there and say, guys, doing your own research and double checking is always important. Because there was a certain tweet that went on in Tennessee that said that Governor Lee had signed a bill banning the Plan B pill, which while it was looked into, again, it's one of those things that needs to be double checked upon because situations like this, even though Republicans are hell-bent on controlling a woman's body, we still want to report the news accurately. So for all those who are wondering about the tweet, this is what actually it is.
Democratic congressional candidate went viral when she posted a false claim about the morning after pill. Pam Keith tweeted, quote, "Tennessee just banned Plan B and made it a crime punishable by a $50,000 fine to order it." The problem with it, it's not accurate. Joining us now to explain, CNN reporter Daniel Dale with a fact check. Daniel.
John, you're right. Tennessee has not banned Plan B. Plan B continues to be available to Tennessee residents. There was no fine for ordering Plan B. So the viral tweet is just plain inaccurate. Here are the facts. Last week, Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee signed a new law that increases the penalty for sending people in Tennessee abortion medication by mail or courier. Makes that a felony with a fine of up to $50,000. Under both previous Tennessee law and this new law, doctors have to distribute abortion medication to patients in person only. But here's the thing, John. Plan B is not abortion medication. It is called the morning after pill for a reason. Its purpose is preventing pregnancy, not terminating pregnancy. Now, the language of the new Tennessee law makes clear that this mail restriction and the fine just don't cover Plan B and other emergency contraception at all. Second, the fine of up to $50,000 is for people who provide abortion pills by mail, courier, or delivery. Again, we're talking abortion pills, not Plan B. And critically, John, the law explicitly says that patients are exempt from penalties. The penalties are for the providers who break the law, not for the people who order the medication. Now, Ms. Key's tweet was up for a few days. It got more than 26,000 retweets. She deleted it after I reached her by phone yesterday afternoon and explained the law. She eventually acknowledged she had misinterpreted it. She also said she never claimed to be a doctor, to be in Tennessee, or to be an expert in new Tennessee law. But I don't know, the tweet was pretty definitive sounding. And this subject is so personal that inaccurate claims, I think, can really affect both people's emotions and possibly even the life decisions they make. One abortion rights group in Tennessee told me they decided to put out an Instagram statement clarifying that the new law doesn't actually change much for people because people they're in touch with were taking in misinformation and getting confused about what the law actually does.
You know, not just getting the truth, but getting results, Daniel Dale. So look, if Roe is struck down by the Supreme Court, abortion law would be set by each state. What do we know about Tennessee's possible post-Roe future?
If Roe is invalidated, Tennessee is planning to ban almost all abortions. It is one of more than a dozen states that has a so-called trigger law in place, a law that snaps into effect if Roe is overturned. And this trigger law says that 30 days after Roe goes down, abortion is banned. There is an exception for the life of the mother, but no exception for rape or for incest.
And that happens.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Now, I did that initially because, again, this was one of those, we always want to give the exact correct information. So, again, the Plan B pill is still available in Tennessee, and I say for now, just because, as you've heard, Tennessee does have a trigger law in place, which we shouldn't be surprised, considering that there's a common law marriage bill that's going through right now, which, by the way, after checking today, still does not have an age requirement. The age requirement to get married in Tennessee is at least 17 at the lowest with a parent's consent. With parental consent to be married, 17 was the lowest for common law marriage. The new bill doesn't have one. So if you're wondering, yes, theoretically, anybody can be married at any age, and that is effing scary. Also from a state that says, oh no, we can't ban abortions yet. But again, the Plan B pill, and then this is what I'll say, the Plan B pill still hasn't been, the Plan B bill has not been banned in Tennessee, but they want to go after the providers, because you don't go after the people you're not going after people that's getting the abortions. You're going to go after the providers that provide the abortions, that provide the Plan B pills. That's who you're going after, because they figure it like a drug deal. You don't go after the users, you go after the suppliers. Because for some odd reason, and I say this with all the sense in the world, for some odd freaking reason, that we seem to, as like Republicans and conservatives and repressed religious people, sometimes call themselves Christians, have this thing about protecting the life of a child. I will never understand it. Even more so, like I said before, there are certain states out there that are ready for trigger laws to go into effect. And with Tennessee, it's not surprising, because I've always said this about Tennessee. This state is progressively backwards for a heavily conservative ass state. Even more so, like I said before, this whole thing about abortion is like, it's not just stopping Roe versus Wade. Because for those who are using certain data apps, which is, again, is a big thing. If you're using an app to track your period, your pregnancies, things of that nature, well, that data could be used against you. And it's what's scary about it is, well, let me just play the tape.
Are raising concerns that your phone could soon help incriminate you. They say apps that track users' menstrual cycles, search history, or location could then sell that data to a third party or turn it over to law enforcement to be used in court. At least 26 states are expected to restrict or ban abortion outright if a leaked draft Supreme Court decision is made final. Some states, like Texas, allow regular citizens to sue anyone who helped someone else get an abortion, while Louisiana is considering a bill that could allow women who choose to get an abortion to be charged with homicide. ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer joins me live now for more on all of this. Brian, how realistic are these concerns that phone data could potentially be used as evidence if this decision is finalized and these bans and restrictions go into effect?
Morning, Diane. Well, it's very realistic because local law enforcement and even federal law enforcement have the tools and the know-how to do exactly what we're describing. All you need for a search of a phone, which is basically a warrant, is probable cause. So if you're arrested for any of these crimes that we're describing that these states are looking to put on the books, there's already probable cause because you're arrested. So they can start searching your phone for, as you described, your location, where you may have gone if you went close to or near an abortion clinic, or your Google searches or text messages, or if you have an app where you're putting that personal information, for example, your menstrual cycle, and it stopped periodically and then started back again later, that can be used as evidence against you.
Is there anything that people can do to protect their privacy?
To some extent, yes. You can look to using search engines that don't actually categorize where you're searching. We've all seen you look up, for example, when I was looking for an engagement ring, months later, I got all of these ads about rings. You can actually turn off some of those settings so that you're not being tracked, so you're not getting those ads, and not being tracked means that someone can't search for those. There's also end-to-end encrypted messages. So unlike the usual messages that you get, the SMS messages, those are stored. You can look to other sources for text messages. Well, those messages are automatically deleted. It helps, but it wouldn't stop it altogether, though.
Now, what are you watching for as states implement more restrictions ahead of a potential ruling? How does that change the legal landscape?
So we're looking as to what's really going to change the legal landscape is what people consider to be the facts that give rise to an abortion occurring. Right now, a miscarriage or taking a pill or an elected abortion could look very similar from a medical standpoint, but for us in the legal field, we don't know how to gauge that, how to measure that. And so if abortions are going to become criminalized, the question becomes what actions, what movements, what decisions, what search engine searches are criminal and not just benign or looking for answers or questions. And so that's going to be very difficult for the criminal justice system to kind of parse through and understand what is criminal and what isn't.
And Brian, while some states are responding to this leaked opinion by trying to draft more or pass more restrictions or outright bans, trigger laws, that kind of thing, there are also other states doing the opposite. Connecticut, for example, trying to push through safe haven laws, essentially saying that women can travel from other states to these states and know that they can get an abortion without legal repercussion. Is it possible for their home state to implement some kind of punishment for that, or are safe haven laws pretty untouchable from that perspective?
So some states are actually starting that process of saying aiding and abetting and simply helping someone leave a state to go get an abortion would become illegal. So safe haven laws and typically would only work within the jurisdiction. We saw the map that we just put up there a few moments ago where you can see geographically where these states are thinking about criminalizing an abortion, and you see the Northeast or the West Coast. We'd anticipate a lot of people from those central or southern states to kind of move into the Northeast, as we see here now. And those states like Ohio could say, if you move into Pennsylvania, if you move into New York for the purposes of an abortion, that can be criminalized. One thing that people are very fearful of are these things called geofencing. And that's the ability to track a phone when it gets into a specific area. And so if you're looking at leaving a state or going to New York or any of those Northeast states that we saw there, or the West Coast states, that can be criminalized as well, just for trying to leave or landing in that area.
All right, legal contributor.
And that alone should tell you guys something, that literally it's getting to that point. It is literally and figuratively getting to that point, to where the reality of it all is that they could turn around and use your phone to track you, which they already do, but to use it to track you in the event that you are trying to have an abortion, that they're trying to wreck the safe haven laws that Democratic states are doing, while conservative/Republican states are trying to enforce that. Like I said before, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If Roe versus Wade is struck down, that is simply the first domino to fall on the attack on women. And as I said before, I'm surprised that a lot more women are not rioting the streets right now, because this is an all-out attack. And trust me, if this goes through, it is going to be an interesting midterm. Because again, the Supreme Court because again, it is heavily conservative, can strike down Roe versus Wade. But that's the tip of the iceberg. It can still affect LGBTQ, interracial marriages, same-sex marriages. It can still affect every one of those cases. Why? Because there's some instance of Roe versus Wade in each of those cases. It is. And again, this is the reason why the bell is being sounded, why the alarm is being sounded, why protests are happening. And even more so, for those that are trying to want every child to be born, there's a little problem that we're running into currently right now, especially with supplies, especially with our current supply of food, water, and other things that aren't coming in the same way they used to. we can add another thing to that list that's going to hit a lot. That's going to hit home for a lot of mothers, forcefully or voluntarily. Baby formula at this point is becoming a little hard to get a hold of. Again, you can't make this up.
This is really scary. And worried parents.
A couple stores we've been in, we have not had it, and we've had to go to the next location.
They are looking for baby formula and not finding it, at least not easily.
I'm myself am down to 1 can of formula.
At the end of April, nearly 40% of popular baby formulas were sold out across the U.S. That's up from 31% 2 weeks before. The shortage is getting worse.
This is a pain in the butt to find.
Baby formula, like many things, has been affected by supply chain issues. Making it worse, the Abbott nutrition plant in Sturgis, Michigan, one of the largest in the country, has been shuttered for months. The company issued a voluntary recall of multiple powder baby formulas in February and halted production. The FDA is investigating conditions at the factory. In a statement to NBC, Abbott in part says it is implementing corrective actions and enhancements and working on resuming operations.
Meantime, retailers Target, Walgreens, and CVS are limiting the amount of baby formula products that can be bought. CVS is telling its customers they can only buy 3 baby formula products in one purchase.
Pediatricians have some safety tips. Don't dilute formula.
There's too much water. Babies can't, their kidneys are not mature enough to process that water, and that can lead to serious health consequences.
Consider trying other brands.
Most babies will adjust and end up doing just as well on a different brand of formula.
Make sure the formula has been stored properly and is not expired. For people who need special formula because of medical conditions, including adults, check in with your doctor. Stephanie Gosk.
Again, you can't make this up. They're not, the fact that they're now pushing, or they want to pushing, every woman to basically be a breeding mare at this point. Now, currently, to add to the supply crisis of some things of short supply, prices going up, and now a shortage of baby formula. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. It's a little too close on the nose. It's a little too convenient that you're trying to push for every woman to have a child against her will, but currently, as of right now, you don't have enough baby formula to go around. You can't make this up. This is the extreme conservative / ultra religious people pushing their morally superior ways on others. And correct me if I'm wrong. I've said this many times. For those out there who I called morally religiously lost because they think they are morally superior, or they think they know better, or they think that, the child needs to be born. And I said this before. One of my favorite comedians, George Carlin, said it best about pro-life people. Pro-life people only care until you're born. And once you're born, you're fucked. You got to get a job. You got to get this. Get off welfare as a child. But when you're a baby when you're a baby in your mother's womb, oh, we must protect the child. No one's thinking out for the child. But no one's looking at the foster homes that are full, the orphanages, the children's network of children's systems of homes that are full of children that don't have parents. But you care about the unborn child. This is why I keep on saying pro-life is bullshit. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover this story because for a weird portion of this, I never thought I'd say this, that especially in the world of law enforcement, where we don't get a lot of wins, apparently this win we actually did get in Oklahoma, where 2 officers are charged with manslaughter because, again, officers shot an unarmed man. The following video is actually the body cam image from it, a body cam footage from the officers, so it may be graphic and, again, might be too intense for younger viewers.
Units better be advised. He's aware we're out here, and he's had the female left the door, but he's still claiming he's going to leave. Just not sure which door.
Hello, Mr. Sanders. This is the Lost Police. Could you give me a sign that you hear this PA system? Turn the light on, hit the windows. want to make sure I can talk to you.
Delta 25, you on here?
Mr. Sanders, just want to advise you we are not leaving. We're going to make sure everybody inside the home is okay. So if you can just give us a sign that you can hear me.
He just ran back in the house. Stay inside, stay inside.
Bro, go back in the house.
Hands! Hands! Down! 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 Hands! 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 Quit racing! Quit racing! Quit racing! Down! Stay down!
Now, with that being said, again, they did actually shoot an unarmed man because what was actually in his hands was his hat that he was switching from his left hand to his right hand, and no weapon was actually found on him at the time that the officers did shoot. Currently, these officers have been terminated. They are both on bond right now. Their lawyers are saying that, I wish I could make this up. Their lawyers are saying that there are external factors in this case that will exonerate them, and sitting there saying that the deceased has had a history of calls upon him. But again, it's like, the one thing I don't get is, again, you deal with law enforcement, you shot an unarmed man, accept the consequences. But again, this is character assassination at its best. When the victim cannot speak for himself, the lawyers come in and say, oh, well, he's had a history. He's had a history of issues of run-ins with the law. Okay. Did he have a gun on him? Well, no. Okay, so if he didn't have a gun on him, your officers fired, as we can tell from the audio, not once, but twice they fired at this man. What defense is there? But again, this is the reason I keep bringing this up, that this is what officers do. Now, I'm surprised, and now I'm going to be honest with you, I am really surprised that the actual Oklahoma Police Department were the ones to release this footage. Usually, when they release something, that means that they have exonerated themselves. But in this case, in the words of total transparency, they're like, well, we want to show you this, guys, because this is what we see. And I thought it was odd. Thought it was odd that maybe that there are some cops out there that might just want to show transparency and actually get rid of officers who are simply not up to the task. So we will follow that story as it comes along with those officers. Will be facing trial as they've been convicted of manslaughter for shooting an unarmed man. Because again, we all know how that story goes. Convictions really don't mean anything, and even in the sentencing, it doesn't always equal to be true. But we'll follow it as it goes along, and let's just say we'll be awaiting with bated breath. Moving right along, guys. A few more stories before we get to our feel good segment. I wanted to cover this one because of all things, you would think we just made lynching a hate crime, right? The Emmett Till anti-lynching federal law is what? Maybe a month old, right? Well, at Stanford University, a noose was actually found outside a student's residence hall. Now, it's not odd, but in this case, this was the third time in 4 years that a noose has been discovered on the Stanford University campus, which now they're actually looking into this. They're actually looking into this to see what they can find out, but they may or may not have a lot of information nor cameras at the area where it happens. But this is the thing I keep bringing up. That yes, that it took them nearly half a century for them to sit there and say that federal lynching is a hate crime. It took that freaking long. And now you have nooses hanging outside again. And one thing I've always pointed out, I said, how is that on a college campus that you pay so much money and yet nobody has a camera in the areas where people will go to look? But again, with the noose being out, it brings up so many questions. It's like at this point, we know it's federal hate crime, but at this point, what's going to be done? because we've heard before. Well, we're looking into it. We're trying to figure out what's going on. But the third time in 4 years that a noose been put out there, somebody knows where to go. That's all I'm saying. Somebody knows where the cameras are pointed at, and somebody knows where security isn't. But if I'm a black person on Stanford University right now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Y'all better walk in pairs. Don't be by yourselves. All the things that our parents told us to do to protect ourselves, because trust me, they would love nothing more to catch one of us slipping. That's the one thing we cannot afford to have. That's all I'm saying. But speaking of things, like I said before, because we have to unfortunately ban CRT because that makes some white people uncomfortable. In this case, we're not looking at the private schools, the religious schools. In this case, the school in Knoxville, Tennessee, where there's an issue of a student that decided to dress up like a KKK person with racial slurs being said on the video. I wish I could make this up. I really wish I could.
Nurses for their across the country and right here in East Tennessee, we are celebrating and we are recognizing nurses for their hard work and their.
Wow, that happened. Hang on a second, guys. Let's fix that because that wasn't supposed to happen. All right, let's try that one again, shall we? Yeah, I think we got it now.
Grace Christian Academy says it is taking disciplinary steps over a racist video that appears to involve students at that school. Now, we warn you, the video you're about to see is disturbing. It shows someone wearing a Ku Klux Klan hood and sitting in a chair that says Grace on the back. Now, we've blurred out the face of another person who walks through that video because we don't know the age of that person. In it, you can hear several students shout a racial slur. 10 News reached out several times to Grace Christian. The school tells us it is aware and taking appropriate disciplinary steps. We've asked more questions about how many students were involved and what those steps are, but the school tells us it doesn't have anything to add to its statement. In the school's handbook, it says certain conduct, including comments or actions because of a student's race, are not permitted. The video shared across social media prompted reaction from several people, including Tennessee State Representative Gloria Johnson. She calls the video distressing and says it's shocking the students were bold enough to post it without feeling embarrassed. We'll, of course, continue to follow this story both on air and online.
Right.
Across the country and right here in East.
So again, I have this thing, and I'm going to be honest with you. I have this thing where I sit there and say, there's just something about these religious schools, and I have a thing against religious schools. I do. I have a big thing with it, but that's beyond the point of what I'm trying to get at here. But that was at a private Christian academy where they were aware of a tweet of a kid in a KKK outfit with people around him saying racial slurs, but they're taking appropriate disciplinary steps. Well, what steps are there? You have a kid who thinks it's completely okay to dress up as a KKK person, say whatever they want to say, and the school's going to do what exactly? Suspend him? Hopefully quietly goes away? Hopefully that his parents donate enough money to where it's like, oh, we're gonna put him in intensive Bible therapy. Come on now. I have always said this before, and I'll say it again. Racism isn't hereditary. It's taught. It is learned. When you remove the ability for social empathy, when you remove the ability for cultural learning and only put in what you believe a child should learn, then we should not be surprised about the outcome of a lot of these kids. A lot of white kids saying the N-word, a lot of white kids saying exactly this and that, George Floyd should have happened this or this, that, and the other. The fact that, again, that behavior isn't hereditary. It's learned from somewhere. And 9 times out of 10, it's learned in the home. But again, with the whole idea of CRT and actually teaching cultural aspects of different ethnic groups seems to be beyond white people, because we don't want to make white people say, well, we don't want our kids to feel sorry for themselves. But white empowerment seems to be okay. Again, Knoxville, Tennessee, progressively backwards. Moving right along, guys, I want to cover the story as well because we actually might see some traction, especially around these cases where injustices have happened. I'm talking about the Ahmaud Arbery case, where, again, the DA at the time, who Greg McMichael called, called multiple times may actually be seeing some time in court themselves. The district attorney at the time, Jackie Johnson, was the one that Greg McMichael called, who he called multiple times, may be seeing possible charges as well. And I am not against that because, again, I have been saying this in the Ahmaud Arbery case. They tried to cover it up. Thank God for social media for that actual video getting out, and the fact of the outcry of just folks wanting justice for this young man. Even more so, because keep in mind, Greg McMichael was a part of the district attorney's office at one point, and now because he reached out to said Jackie Johnson, she herself may be seeing her time in court. Even though right now her lawyer is saying that there's not an iota of evidence to sit there and suggest that she may have had something to do with it. Yeah. Oh, but she recused herself. Yeah, okay. That is not saying anything. Because keep in mind, they weren't going to pursue this. She only recused herself when when the federal government got involved. Keep in mind, they weren't going to pursue this. That Greg McMichael and his son were just allowed to go home after hunting and trailing and killing a black man. They were about to go home like they were having lunch. But this DA swears up and down she has no action. When I'm like, yes, you do. You are just as guilty. You may have not pulled the trigger, but you certainly made it almost acceptable to them to get away with it. But we will follow it as it goes along to see if they will pursue charges against the DA. I think that they should, just because, again, it's not just about just going after. It's not just about getting the people that are responsible, but it's actually about getting everybody that's involved, everybody from the top up to top down. Almost in the same sense like they should get everybody on January 6th, especially because you don't think there's people involved. There's plenty of people involved with that. But that's neither here nor there in the discussion. Moving right along, guys. You remember what I said about the Florida Parental Rights and Education Bill, about the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida? How that will have consequences? Well, meet its first casualty.
A discussion happened in class, and because of that, now I'm fired.
That discussion, according to Trafalgar Middle School teacher Casey Scott, centered on student sexuality.
A lot of the kids came out to me like, oh, well, I'm non-binary, and a couple kids said, oh, well, I'm bi. One kid said they're gay.
She claims students wondered about her.
Oh, I'm pansexual. So, I like anyone despite female, male.
And married to a man. She says some students asked to create art expressing their sexuality.
This one's a trans flag.
She hung the pictures on her classroom door.
They said that it would be in the best interest if I just got rid of them now.
She snapped these pictures showing how she got rid of them.
I went over to the recycling bin. I grabbed all of their flags, and all the kids were staring at me, and I crumbled their flags in front of them.
She was sent home, and then
I got a call from administration saying that, well, at this time, we are releasing you from your contract.
She showed us social media posts from students upset over her firing. However, the Lee County School District showed us complaints from parents and students explaining that they could create flags expressing who they are. Union President Kevin Daley says they can legally fire her.
During that probationary period, they can let you go without cause.
She doesn't belong to the union. Daley believes the firing could be a wake-up call for teachers.
There is kind of a heightened sense of, where is the boundary and what are employees supposed to do, allowed to do, what to do when a topic comes up in discussion.
Her firing came days before the governor signed a law that limits LGBTQ talk in age-appropriate settings.
My concern is for the mental health of the transgender, non-binary students.
LGBTQ advocate Crystal Siskan believes the district made a mistake.
I would like to see a statement from the school board recognizing that they need to have a mental health counselor come in and speak with the children who are directly impacted by their actions toward this teacher.
The district telling me, quote, she was terminated for not following state-mandated curriculum. Dave Elias, NBC2.
Not following state-certified curriculums. Again, I said this would happen. I said this would happen when that Don't Say Gay bill went into effect. Not surprised. this is what's going to lead to a teacher shortage in Florida. Mark my words, because if you look, when you're a teacher, there's just some subjects that are just unavoidable. And people can stand and say, well, they shouldn't be talking about, LGBTQ in fourth grade. How do you know? See, the one thing a lot of people don't understand, that kids are way different than what they used to be. I remember it's like, because the thing is that we were talking about in fourth grade, at the time when I was in fourth grade, kids beforehand weren't talking about that. Even more so, you have 8, 9-year-olds and younger on smart devices that are on TikTok, that are on Snapchat, that are on Instagram, that are on all these things. The world has changed, but yet we have this mentality that an education that it hasn't. Realistically, education in America has not changed since the late 70s. It really hasn't. Skip the Common Core, because Common Core is actually just a pain in the ass. Common Core doesn't teach anything. Common Core doesn't teach anything to a student except to follow and pass the test. As I said before, in education, they're not producing critical thinkers. They're not producing logical progression. They're not producing kids who are going to look at something and think outside the box and, unilateral thinking. They don't do that anymore. They just basically teach them to pass a test. And it's not the teacher's fault. It's the state standards that are put in place. So what does that have to do with the Don't Say Gay bill? Well, the simple fact of the matter is it hamstrings teachers. Those teachers who are LGBTQ can't sit there and talk about their lives. Or, God forbid a child comes in on Talk About My Family Day and says, I want to introduce my 2 dads or introduce my 2 moms. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't think for one second that there is one kid out there that feels embarrassed or confused or insulted or uncomfortable with LGBTQ. I don't think that. It's hard because kids are more accepting of each other than adults are with each other. Kids just play together. That's it. But it's hard to imagine that a child is affected because another child is different from them or their child's family is different from them. And that is the reason why that Florida law is so destructive, just because the simple fact of the matter is it carries that much weight. Where people are like, well, I don't want my child exposed to it. You cannot stop the world. I've said this before, parents. The more you try to stop your child from being exposed to the world, the more that child will head to it. That's why I sit there and say, have a discussion, guide them, expose them so that way they're aware. That's what school is. School is a learning institution, yes, but it's also a great social experiment because they are going to see the real world, the real unfair, sometimes beautiful, sometimes ugly world. They get to see and are shaped by it to be better for it, not to be shielded or told this is evil and therefore become the exact replica of these repressed individuals out there who swear up and down that they're morally superior and doing the right thing. See, there's a term there, morally superior, and think that, we shouldn't talk about this because you think so or because there's not general consensus on it, but you think you know better than others. That's all I'm saying. But again, not surprised. But fortunately, some more bad news because if you're in Georgia and you're about to go to the midterms of the elections, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that bitch, this bitch, somehow, some way, Marjorie Taylor Greene was, again, she was in court because of the fact that she was being challenged by a group of voters to see blocking her from the ballot for the reasons that she was violating a rule that prevents insurrectionists from running from office. This was the court's decision. The court concludes that the evidence in this matter is insufficient to establish that Rep. Greene, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress to support the Constitution of the United States, engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same and or gave aid or comfort to the enemies thereof under the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which was written by Burdott. I cannot make this up. How? Because for a lot of you who are scratching your heads, Marjorie Taylor Greene was spouting QAnon, was spouting the same mess Donald Trump talking about take our country back, was sitting there saying to join the rally on January 6th. Her tweets are still there for you to see. And yet, this judge says, it's not enough. It's not enough. How is it not enough? People have been convicted for less. I'm like, people have been convicted on way less, and there was a mountain of evidence to show that Marjorie Taylor Greene supported the insurrectionists, helped them, and yet for somehow, come November, she will still be able to be on the ballot. It's amazing. It is truly, truly amazing. The funny part about this is, if you're probably wondering, yes, Bardo is a registered Republican and was one of the list of Trump's appointees. You can't make this up, folks. That's all I'm saying. Can't make this up. Aside from that, damn. The only other thing that they can do is that the plaintiffs can appeal their case against Greene to the Superior Court of that county. But again, the Republican primary election for the state of Georgia is held on May 24th. Not a lot of time to get an appeal in, but they can still do it. But at the end, in the words of Silk Sonic, this bitch. I'm just saying. All right, so moving right along, guys. We were going to go to our feel good segment because usually how the Frack got here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom, sometimes make you lose your faith in humanity. And hey, it's Wednesday, it's hump day. We need something to get us into Friday, which is Thursday, and put us out in some good vibrations. I love stories like this because I keep on saying this: when kids graduate college, it's always a beautiful thing. It's a great accomplishment, and that parents should be proud along with their graduees. I really hope this is a trend for college graduates going forward, that you see these anonymous people come in and do something wonderful, like give college students a fresh start debt-free.
When you are debt-free, you do not owe the college a penny. If you have a balance, you had a balance. You no longer have a balance. You are debt-free. You do not owe the college a penny. If you have a balance, you had a balance. You no longer have a balance.
I love the fact he stressed that heavily. It's like, look here, I know y'all happy and all, but you don't have a balance. If you had a balance, you no longer have a balance. You don't owe the college a penny. I don't know about you, but as a former college graduate myself, I would love to hear that. Because again, we're seeing this now with the fact of credit impacts, with debt, especially student loan debt out there. And you guys have heard me talk about student loan debt and the fact that something needs to be done about that. But if you graduate college debt-free, that is by far the greatest start that you can give a student. And whoever the anonymous donor is, I mean, that's a hell of a tax write-off. That's all I'm saying. But kudos to them, to those that graduated, and also kudos to all those who graduated, because I know graduation is coming. If it has not already happened, it's definitely happening nationwide. So congrats to all the graduates out there, whether in high school, whether in college, or getting your PhDs, masters, or doctorates. If you did it, you earned it. Kudos to you. That being said, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this podcast. So before I do get out of here, I do have to do some shameless plugging as I usually do. Shout out to the guys over at RE Geek Present Geek Style for allowing me to share my podcast on their page. I certainly appreciate that, guys. You can definitely check them out on YouTube as well as Facebook under the name Geek Salad. Also, shout out to Vaughn, of course, Avon Westman on Facebook, Big BZA on socials, as he is definitely doing podcasts, but you can definitely catch him there. Avon Westman on Facebook, and of course, Big BZA on all socials. Now, as for yours truly, guys, I can be found on my IG handle, BlackFox447, where I usually post a lot of things, mostly a lot of reviews, whether it's video games, movies, television, or I also do some gym stuff because, I do a couple push-ups. At the same time, guys, I am also about pushing motivational quotes and things of that nature, not only motivate myself, but hopefully motivate others, just because we are going through a lot, and just being positive and just being kind, because I said before, just be kind, be decent. It takes zero energy to be kind. It takes everything you need to be a dick. And that's what we need to start doing. Being kind to others and actually showing support, because we are all fighting our own battles, battling our own demons. And you never know, just saying hi or being kind to somebody can make the difference in their life. That's the way I look at it. So aside from the ticker that you see down at the bottom, guys, let me make that just a little bit bigger. Well, that's not it. If you copy and paste that link into your browser, we'll take you to my link tree that has the YouTube and Facebook groups for all of my podcasts. How the Frack we got here, Get Bit, and of course, y'all post podcast. Definitely like, share, subscribe, tell people about it. I'm trying to make this thing bigger than what it is, and hopefully make it into something that I want to do a movement on. Not just being informed, not just about current events, but actually starting a movement to where folks need to get more involved, not just in politics, but in all aspects, and really have that consensus and discussion that we used to have. That's my goal. That's my dream goal of all of this. So with that being said, guys, last thing, a couple things I'll say before I get out of here. Again, if you have the ability to make somebody's life great, whether it's a minute, day, an hour, or a lifetime, go ahead and do so. The world can use more random acts of kindness. Also, at the same time, guys, if you're still out and about, please wear a mask, please wear gloves. I understand that COVID is not being talked about as much as it used to be, but there's still cases out there. There's still people that are being sick. And again, we're not out of the woods yet. So please wear a mask when you go out. Please protect yourself, because when you protect yourself, you protect others, and that's all we need to do right now. Last thing I'll say about How the Frack got here, it's all about staying informed. We're not trying to change minds or reinvent the wheel. We're simply giving you all the information that's out there, that is verified, that is registered, that you can find out, that you can find for yourself. But we also want you to make up your own mind for yourself. But we do want to provide a logical perspective that goes with it. We do a lot better in society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past by making decisions now that we should have done back then, like elect our first African-American woman to the Supreme Court justice. Yes, Kajani Brown Jackson. That is still history making in the process, and we should be so proud of that. When we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's why we keep asking ourselves many a times, why is everything going up but our paycheck? Why are we still electing different politicians but still the same old circle jerk game in the world that we're currently dealing with? And most importantly, how the frack we got here. Thank you all for watching. If you're watching still play live, please comment if it's live. I still want to know exactly what you guys thought about as far as our stories, things of that nature go. Aside from that, please take care of yourselves and each other, and we will all get through this. Peace.